G'day, punters, and welcome to another episode of the Footy Form Guide podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Wally, joined as always by my good mate, Harro. Harro, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Wally, not too bad. Interesting week of footy and actually interesting week for the Footy Form Guide last weekend as well, because we actually copped a bit of stick from people in our community thinking that we were sticking up for the bookies last week,
Yeah,
which I find interesting because we pretty much I certainly do, dedicate my life to making the bookies' lives a bit harder. So just wanted to mention that don't worry, punters, we're on your side. But, you know, if anybody's read the book, The Art of War, you do always want to put yourself in your opponent's shoes. And I think that's important to do. And that's basically all I was doing last week by pointing out that the bookies are paying a lot in tax and it's being passed on to the punter. Don't get me wrong, I've got no love for the bookies. I'm here to beat them up as much as possible. So that's still the aim of the game here at the Footy Form Guide, and that will never change.
Yeah, it was a bit of, I know there's a comment. It's so, like, you get people that obviously for some reason might not like us. No, I'm fine with that. It is what it is. Even the most popular politician of all time, Bob Hawke, only 3/4 of people liked him. And he was known as about the most popular person in the world. So I know these people aren't going to like you, just probably don't like our head or whatever. But it was funny because someone was saying, "Oh, has anybody called out that Wally works like with sports bet?" It's like, if you don't know that, you've been living under a rock. Like I've been the face of the Grubs for sort of like nearly 10 years, and it's not going to do with that. But I'm also here guiding, like talking to the markets, and then you're going through them. We're bookmaker agnostic on the podcast. Everyone knows that. Anybody I work with knows that. Anybody in the industry knows it. And I think you'd struggle to go back and go through and find any examples of where it's like we're trying to secretly promote a bookmaker or something like that. Like, this is a side hustle. The other thing is we do this for free. So if you don't like it, you don't have to listen. It's that simple. I mean, we're doing it for free. It doesn't really matter what you think of the pod. You know, just tune out. If we were a tipping service and we're charging people for it, then you could do anything. You could have genuine problems with us. The other thing is, I love that one of our community actually jumped in and goes, "Yeah, well, you could have a problem with this if they were getting rinsed by the bookies every week, but they're like they win every week." It's like, yeah, well, that's a good point too. Anyway, listen or don't, we don't give a shit, to be honest. We do this as a way that to catch up each week and have a chat, and we thought we'd put it on air. And you know what? Some people like it, and more like it than don't. So there we go. Mate, let's get into our highs and lows of the weekend.
All right, mate. So, yeah, just to kick it off, actually really enjoyed some of our community jumping on our page and posting some of the wins they had on the weekend. You know,
that was
based
cool.
off the stuff that we've been putting out. So, like Darcy Duncan, he had a good win and he posted it up there. Hammy Graham and the gift Gallivanter as well. So, well done to those guys. They followed our tips. They put a few of their own little, sort of areas on it as well, and they had good wins. And I just want to give Tal Rusher a bit of a shout out. He DM'd me on Sunday, and he had a bet going for a massive collect. I think almost 50 grand, and all the selections were based off the pod, really. And he missed by Brayshaw. He needed Brayshaw to get 25. He got 23. He had 15 at half time. So, mate, very stiff, but well done. It looks like you're putting together some good stuff, and you've missed by a bee stick. So, bad luck there.
And
mate.
let's be honest, usually if you miss one of those big ones and you are like playing across the weekend, you're still winning money. It's just maybe you missed the absolute Goliath. So what did we get right on the weekend, Harro?
Yeah, mate. So just like we started off on the Thursday night, we identified Whitfield and Ash as a really nice area. They had 36 and 29. Friday, we were pretty keen on Newcomb's unders. He's been really battling. I'm not sure what's going on with him, and he just got the 19. We also flagged like Rankin's goals and his under disposals, and he kicked 3 and he had 16, so that worked out nicely. Saturday, Pickett was a big one for us, and he keeps hitting the mark for us. It's been really good to us, Cozzy Pickett. I think he had 26. We only needed 20. Tim Kelly as well. We sort of identified his role changed a week before. He had his 26. He only needed 21, so that was nice. We had a really good game in the Gold Coast Richmond. So we liked the big margin there. Noah Anderson disposals, he had 38. Noble, 30. And Jack Ross, 23. So all nice areas that. Pies v Brisbane, we were very keen on Will Ashcroft, and the Lions midfield just obliterated the Pies midfield. And so that was really nice watch. And it was a good watch to see the Pies go down as well, mate. It's always good as a Carlton man to see the Pies get blown off the park. So that was enjoying. And mate, that was probably wraps up the major sort of highlights for us.
Yep. Always where there's highlights, there's lowlights, mate. What did we just miss this week?
So we missed out on the Hawks v Crows unders, which I was quite keen on. That just second half, sort of the game really opened up and the scoring sort of flowed in that second half. So we missed it. We had a really unlucky one here, Wally. 2 weeks in a row, I've flagged Jack Martin's goals. He was paying $5 for 2. He starts as sub. He comes on in the third quarter and kicks 4. So, I mean, what do you do about that? So everybody who's backed it, the bet's void because he started sub. He comes on and kicks 4. So I was pretty disappointed with that, mate. Otherwise, not too bad for the rest of the round.
Harro, do you know when that first started? I reckon it was either last year or the year before, and I don't remember the book. It may have even been Tab. They would void it if they missed, but it would be alive for the match, and if you got it, you still won it. And then they've changed that rule. There was one of the books had that when it first came out, and it was almost like you would. I remember it because I was like,
"Is it like a free
mug punting 101?" You wait and see the sub anytime goal or 15 disposals or something, and then but it just it was I probably didn't take full enough advantage of it, but it doesn't exist with any of them anymore. I think it's void across the board now, which is a real shame. Geez, he was good, Harro. He was really good for that little patch. Anyway, what else?
No, look, there was a few other misses throughout the weekend. Like Finn Callaghan, that was a big one for us. He got 23. We needed 24 for our multi.
We got 24, Harro. But the stat sheet said 23.
This was just so disappointing because champion data, all right, if it's like we had one with Chera where the ball kind of hit his boot, but maybe you could say it didn't, whatever. This was the first possession of the match, and they've stuffed it up. I just couldn't believe it, really, and it was that clear, this one. Like, if that's not a handball, and I think the people who follow us on Twitter will probably, they might understand what we're talking about a bit more than maybe those who don't. But Callaghan got the first possession of the match. He handballed it over his head, which we see Libba, does it all the time.
What did they call it? A contested knock-on or something?
They called it a contested knock-on.
The definition in there is a handball. If you read the definition of a contested knock, I don't know. All I know is that we had a lot overall for all the comments, because we're about to get to questions off social, X, of DMs, of personal text, whatever it is. I'll feel this. We are on board and we agree completely with your frustration on champion data. So I won't go through everyone, but we had a number of them about it. And we agree. And yes, he had 24 and it read 23.
Yeah, and there is, I think, there is a bit of a compliance or whatever issue because there is money at stake on this sort of stuff. And so champion data, I feel like that they need to explain themselves better if they if they're going to make these decisions. And right now they're just blanking. They're just blanking us. So it's showing a fair bit of, I feel like, disrespect to the community and to the punters. And they've got a job that they need to, because people are going to start making theories and stuff up. They're going to start thinking that they're in collusion with the bookies, and which is probably not true. But what other conclusion are people going to lead to with
No,
this sort of stuff? So we need more
absolutely.
transparency, I feel like, from Champion Data. They need to explain stuff like this because, and they need to actually have, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Precedence. So they need to be able to show precedence for this type of thing with Callaghan being called a contested knock on other times. Now, I know when Collingwood last week, or when they were beaten by Fremantle, the patch of play that led to the bloke taking the mark where Darcy Moore kneed the bloke, it was 2 handballs over their head like that led to the kick.
Yeah.
Now, were they called contested knock-ons or were they called handballs? Now, there was also one later in this game, which someone in our community posted, of another one of these over-the-head handballs called a handball. So the
Mate, they're always called
inconsistency
handballs.
the inconsistency is just garbage.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. If anyone can let us know with that, there's got to be somebody that knows somebody with Champion Data, something to do with it. Like, they used to be quite active on social. I've heard them on air before say, oh, we get notified and we might get an email, we get notified. I just reckon that they think they're getting a bit bigger. Like, your job is not to have opinion. Your job is just to record the stats. And if it's not a handball, mate, it's a throw. And if the umpire doesn't call a throw, you just get your little notes and you write handball and you continue on. It's not your job to do all that. Like, it does my head in. It does everyone's punter's head in. It does people that play fantasy. There would have been somebody that lost a fantasy game that had him in the team. There's hundreds of thousands of people by a point. They'd be pissed off. Like, do you know what I mean? There's all these little things, and whether we like it or not, it's part of the game. Fantasy sports are part of the game. Betting's part of the game, and they create interest in the game, and they provide a shitload of revenue for the game. So they are important. They are very, very important. Anyway, we will get into more positive stuff, and we'll go through, as I said, all the questions on Champion Data on social. We agree, don't know what the answer is to this. All right. There was a few comments as well, just like comments without questions, like Sam Flanders banned now. I think that with Flanders, it's a little bit, someone like that, it's a bit, his role has completely changed and he will come in and out of a position to get disposal. Adrian sent that just as an example there. Players like that we do see a lot of now, Harro, where they were doing one role and then they move to a different role, but then if needed, they go back to the same role, depending on players coming in and out. I myself have always found them, unless you can really nail it, best just to leave alone. So I agree with you on Sam Flanders there.
Yeah, especially with Miller coming back. I mean, I wouldn't have been backing Flanders with Miller back in the side because definitely no role for him there with, through that midfield anyway.
All right, so Bradley asks, spoken about staking an extra unit per goal above your opinion on a team head-to-head line. How do you stake on player lines? For example, if you think a player to get 30, but the line is 27, how would you stake? So how do you go? Because you know how you've always said, like, the more confident I am on a bet, the bigger the stake will be. Yeah. Is there a way of sort of breaking that down when it comes to player props?
So I think it's often a good way is to have half your stake on the line. And so you're getting your money back if they just hit the line, but they don't ladder up. That's often a good way to play it. But then also you need to just think about the upside in the bet. And the more upside you see to it, like there could be a guy who goes like, he goes 1 week 19, the next week 36, the next week 22, the next week 34. You got to look at each player sort of, and often some guys have got the ability to go well above, and so in that circumstance, I might really stake up the higher line, where other guys you might have a line of 25.5, and he goes 27, 27, 25, 28, 28, 26, 25, something like that. You think, well, maybe he doesn't have the upside, but he's probably a really strong bet just at the line. So that's a way to look at it. Look at every bet individually. If there's the more upside there is to it, the more you stake up to the higher line. The less upside, but more certainty just around the line. Perhaps you have more on the line. It's probably the best way to answer it, Wally.
All right. Very good, Harro. Our man Steve wondering at what point the Cameron ladder, as he tries to get to 100 goals, no longer presents value. Steve, I was just thinking about this myself. Last week, we were getting 7, 14, 21, 34 for 7 through 10. This week, you're getting $3, $4.50, $7, and $10. $10 for 10 goals is skinny. I think it's a case by case. But Harro, I'll just ask you this question: if you were setting the line on Jezza goals versus Essendon, what would you be setting it at this week?
Well, I thought the Port guy did a really good job on him, and he's still got 6. And yeah, I feel like he's likely to do better than that against Essendon. So I might have his line at like 6.5.
Well, then you're getting overs because you're getting $3 for him to cover his line.
And you look how much they looked after him on the weekend. It actually made me feel a bit sick. Like if he gets 100, I feel a little bit like I'll look back on it and go, it's a little bit tainted because like he's starting to get a lot of goals he really doesn't deserve. Where you go back to Buddy's, the last bloke to kick 100. Buddy wasn't running around the back of blokes 15 metres out and getting a handball. So that sort of shit, I hate teams who put individuals ahead of the team. Yeah. It makes me feel rotten. And also, I hate blokes winning the individual awards based on some fuckery. Like this is pure fuckery, in my opinion. Play the game how you would normally play it, and if he's good enough, great. That's fine by me. But if you're going to be running around the back of blokes 10 metres out, getting a handball while someone shepherds for you, I mean, fuck, I could do that. Seriously.
Yeah. Okay.
Get on with it.
Yeah. So, Harro, I look at this, and I can't believe I'm about to do this. In defence of Geelong and Jezza, which we love. We do love Jezza. We'll be clear on that. No matter Geelong.
Hey, I like Jezza.
We both
like
do.
Jezza.
No,
love his YouTube channel with his golf and his fucking around on his farm. That's all great.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna just say this. 2 things. 1, he's put himself in a position to strike at it through doing all the right things. There was no fuckery, as you put it in. 2, Geelong have done such a good job on percentage and got themselves into a position to go top 4, and then they're getting themselves into positions in games when they can do this. So the other side of this argument is it's not actually affecting their results. They're doing it while they're putting teams away. So I know what you're saying, but I also see that side to it. The other thing for me is, although nobody is going to look at it and go, this is like buddies. I think that it's so hard to get to 100 now. You have to have a level of this. I think that they're getting into really dangerous areas, though, of where he's going to get so close but just miss. Because Sydney's going to be more restrictive, and Richmond are actually they've been quite restrictive to key forwards. The only thing is it'll be the last game. We'll see. But they could be in a position where he needs like 4 or 5 goals going into finals. And the last thing you want, and I've said this before, is a final being stopped while 40,000 people run onto a ground, especially if you've got the momentum if you're Geelong. So this thing could go a little sideways at some point. It's just, for me, though, it's a fascinating watch. And the other thing, Harro, is because he's going at this, we've been able to fill up a little bit on goals. So I understand both sides. I hate that I have to come and defend Geelong, but they have put themselves into a position where this is even able to be done because they are just coasting and their draw allows it. But I know what you're saying. Bottom line is this. We're saying the line's 6.5. Steve, to answer your question, you're getting $3 for 7. So we reckon that maybe there is still some value in it. It's not always about the overarching price, but the next 2 weeks,
you got to think like that line. Based off last week, he's going to get 3 goals to start with just from gifts. Yep. So he's starting with maybe 3 shots on goal or maybe 4 shots on goal, but 3 goals, say, based on last week, where I think he got about 3 from basically gifts, basically. So he's starting on 3. So really, you got to think that you're getting $2 about him kicking 3 legitimate goals. or 4 against Essendon. So,
Yep.
and really, you're getting $10 about him kicking 6 or 7 legitimate ones if he's going to get 3 or 4 gifts.
We're back in it.
So, yeah, I
We're
think
on.
so.
Steve, we're on for one more week. All right. I've noticed Brayshaw and Sarong have been so inconsistent with getting 25 touches when they both used to be locks. What have you noticed about Freo's game plan that has changed? Well, for me, the tagging of Sarong is just an obvious one. We know he's been affected by that. He's really taggable. What do you think about in terms of Brayshaw, though, Harro? Because he's not usually tagged, but he has been in and out of that 25 range.
Yeah, I guess with those guys, they seem to do really well when they have the right matchup. So you just got to pick the right matchups, and when they don't, they fail basically. And yeah, I'm just querying, their actual whether they're good, but I don't think they should be classed like in the top bracket of these absolute gun midfielders. Not yet, anyway. They're both pretty young too, so. They might find a way to work their way through this, but at the moment, yeah, it does look like they've been worked out a little bit. And everybody watches, other teams watch, and they pick up on what works and what doesn't for other teams. And, it's going to be like a batsman, everybody's watching, say, who was it? It was Cam Bancroft. So last year, I think it was, he got caught in the leg gully a couple of times, and then all of a sudden, every team's just attacking his leg stump with a leg gully in, and he's got to find a way to work through that after having been figured out a little bit. I think the Fremantle boys are going through something similar. So time will tell whether they can work their way through it or not, but I feel like definitely pick your matchups on those guys.
Great. All right. And again, we know like Bet Sniper is a good one to be able to go and have a look at how teams perform, how midfield perform against midfielders and things like that. That's a good one. StatMate do a really easy, simple one where they just go for the season, you're ranked versus disposals allowed and whatnot. So there's tools out there to find that if you're not aware. All right. Few quick ones here from Cramit. Does Ash McGrath get more mid-time this week?
Well, I think he means Andy McGrath.
Ash McGrath was the Brisbane player that kicked the goal after the goal after the siren. Yeah, I fell for that. Andy McGrath, but that's all right. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Actually, I've got that in my notes for the game later on, so maybe we'll touch on that then.
Great. Hunter Clark replaced Naz's role at half-back. And do we expect to see him getting a little bit more time on the ground?
I actually hadn't picked up on that one. So I looked at the kick-ins and I saw all the kick-ins were going to Sinclair, but I hadn't picked up on that role change. So that's something that, I will have a look into. And thanks for the heads up there.
Nice. And do we think Zorko gets tagged by Sydney? Do we think that Jordan goes to Zorko or to McCluggage?
Well, I've got that in my notes later as well. I do think it'll be McCluggage, but they've also got, guys who can tag from half forward as well. So it doesn't mean Zorko won't get tagged. Probably just won't be by Jordan.
Exactly. All right, a few others. Palmerbet and Sportsbet affiliated. I think this is to do with going at early lines. I can tell you they're not. Pretty sure Palmerbet's still their own. I don't think they've been bought. I might be wrong. Yeah, it'd be easy to do some research on that, but I'm pretty sure Palmerbet's still their own entity and haven't been bought by one of the big boys, but they're definitely...
I can see why people might think it, though, because I think they copy Sportsbet's odds like straight copy and paste.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That'd be why then, Harro. But no, not affiliated in any capacity. Where are they? They're Queensland-based, aren't they, Palmerbet?
Not sure.
It's Queensland City, I'm not sure. Yeah. But yeah, definitely north of Victoria. Now, when laddering bets such as a line bet, how do you stake the bets and what intervals? Oh, okay. So, sorry, Eric, we obviously covered that where Harold was saying half your stake on the line to make sure you break even, and then you pick 2 or 3 up on that, depending on how confident you are. All right, Dialer Turden, players who had role changes due to teammate injuries. Suns' Joel Jeffrey with Rioli out, for example, had a couple of 25-plus disposal games recently. Which players will teams be trying out in new positions to finish the season with an eye on 2026 off for decent odds? This is sort of a game-by-game one, right, Harro? Like, we're going to try and recognise this, but I know what they're saying. Like, players get put out for the year, players go out surgery, different roles are changed. Bloody hard to find and to win money off, but I think this would be a match-by-match.
Like we saw it on the weekend with the D's, with Xavier, I think it's Xavier Lindsay. I think that's his name. Number 6. He got a big role through the midfield. I just want to check that is actually who I'm talking about. Just a sec while I look it up.
Yeah.
We saw Cooper Lord for the Blues. He got a big role in there. Caleb Windsor is the guy I was thinking of. Caleb Windsor for the D's. Lord for the Blues were 2 that I picked up on the weekend. And look, I'm probably missing a few as well. So if anyone in the community out there has picked up on some role changes, like shoot them through. We'd love to know.
Yep.
There's just 2 off the top of my head, which I picked up on the weekend.
Speaking about sort of roles and that, can you see top 4 teams resting players having reduced roles when playing bottom 8 sides? Lions, Swans. Lions, Swans is probably one I wouldn't think, because Swans are still a decent side. It's more on these other ones when a Geelong is playing an Essendon and the line is like 67 points or whatever it is. I think, again, that's a case by case, right, Harro?
Look, I actually am. We have that pre-finals bye and stuff now, and really, I don't think that the coaches of the top 9 won't be fucking around so much at all. I think they'll be really betting guys into their roles and getting that continuity, and they'll be going pretty flat out, these 9 sides that are still remaining.
Yep. Speaking about players out too, so Lockie Neal now, he's out for the remainder of the home and away, but it sounds like they're confident they're coming back for finals.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting because we haven't really seen the Lions without Neal. He never really misses, does he?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So
and Will Ashcroft's got a big enough role usually that he'd come in, but we'll see. All right. I think that's one last one. How could I almost forget from Adam? Is it a failure by Hawthorn if they miss the 8? Kane Corns and others been very quiet on the matter after a hot start. I'll tell you, it's a failure. You can't. I think so. You can't, as Hawthorn, add Barras and Battle, and then win a final, go to an interstate favourite and lose by a kick, and then miss the 8 and it not be a failure. I understand a plateau year, but 100%, there's no other way of looking at it. The team's almost.
I still think they'll get there.
Going down against it. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I still think they will.
I hope you're right, Harro, but we'll see. But yeah, definitely a failure. Definitely a failure. All right, mate, let's get stuck in because I'm wary of time. We've been going for a bit and we haven't even looked at a game yet. Okay, so, mate, let's start. Thursday night, Hawks taking on Collingwood. Hawthorn's $2.27. Collingwood's $1.64. The line's 7.5. Top 8, top 4 implications. Look, if Hawthorn lose this, it gets pretty tough because they're going to have to win a final game in Brisbane against the reigning premiers, whereas Collingwood really need to win this one to solidify that top 4 spot. How are you seeing it, mate?
Well, look, we've been against the Pies for about a month now, and to great success as well. So I just saw them wobbling after their bye, and I feel like that's been a really good read. So that's been really pleasing, actually, Wally, to be correct on that. Now, the Pies actually, they come up. I feel like they've got a bit against them this week. They've got a 5-day break into this game, having had a 6-day break into the game before. So we've seen this 3 games in 11 days scenario pop up a few times. And it's a factor. I'm willing to say that it's a factor in this one. The Hawks, they have a 6-day break into this game, so just the extra day's break They did have an 8-day break before that, so they're 3 games in 14 days.
Yep.
So at this time of year, I feel like that's definitely a factor. Mate, Will Day, I mean, that was just so flattening. There was 2 on the weekend, Will Day and the boy from Fremantle, the gun midfielder as well.
Hayden
I
Young.
feel like Hayden Young, yeah, they're both.
They just can't. They can't catch a break, either of them.
Yeah, and they're both the type of player that can elevate their team from being a mid-finals team to a possible premiership sort of chance, and just so flattening, mate. But what it's sort of said to me, is it time, Sammy Mitchell, to unleash Dylan Moore into a full midfield role and see how he goes? Because I feel like he's got the ability to be that type of player. So I'm calling for it. I hope that he does it. And it could mean big possessions for Dylan Moore as well if it actually happens. Bit of a guess, but I might have a speculator on Dylan Moore. I think his line's about 18.5. Yep. I mean, he could get over that anyway. If he gets a full midfield role, he certainly will. Again, you could play the unders here, 161.5, 2 of the best 3 defenses in the comp. So in a big, tight game like this, I know we were wrong about it against Adelaide, but I wouldn't mind going back to the well there and testing that again, that theory. So, yeah, look, just back to Collingwood's sort of form, and I've noted here that I think they've only, since they played the Hawks last, which was round 12, and they pumped them, they've only beaten the line once. And I compare that to Hawthorn. Look, Hawthorn last week, they lost to the Crows by 14 points away. Yep. I feel like that's a much harder assignment than playing Collingwood at home, especially the form that the Crows are in right now. So I feel like the immediate form definitely puts Hawthorn within the margin here. Also, I noticed on Saturday night, the Pies midfield, it looks really weak right now. And you look at what the Lions mids did. They had, between the 4 of them, 131 disposals, 19 tackles and 33 clearances. They absolutely dominated the Pies midfield. And I look at Dacos here, and he gets all the plaudits and stuff for being a great offensive player, but he doesn't have a defensive side to his game. And I feel like it puts the other mids under quite a lot of pressure to make up for that. And when he's getting beaten man for man, like Noah Anderson did a few weeks ago, it puts their midfield at a huge disadvantage. Whether Hawthorn have got anyone who can beat him man to man, that'll be interesting. But I'm looking at their other mids, and they had Long in there on the weekend. He's just battling. He only had, I think, the 9 possessions, so he's no threat to the opposition, and he can be beaten. Pendles, I felt like Pendles looked a little bit slow on the weekend, and who could blame him at his age? But if he's one of your main 3 mids, if he's your 4th or 5th, maybe that's okay. But he's like taking the number 2 mantle in that midfield right now.
Yeah,
and they had Degoe, who was just first up, after a long break, and so he and Long only combined for 20 disposals between 2 midfielders. So Hawthorn could really get on top in the midfield here. And I feel like, so that's another area where it gives me a bit of confidence wanting to be with Hawthorn, mate. And the other area where I like the Hawks here is the key forwards against the Pies. So, I've been a big critic of Moore in the last couple of years. He's gone through some phases where he's been all right. But again, in the last month, he's really been shown up, mate. And Morris kicked 6 against him on the weekend. And we saw Voss a few weeks ago also kick the 6 down there. So whatever the dynamic is down in the Collingwood backline, it's not working. And the Hawks with, Gunston, Chol, Lewis down there, they're all potential, to kick a bag. And so given all that, mate, I'm quite keen on the Hawks getting a 7.5 start.
Well, there you go, Harro. Very good. I will say with Degoe, he's a massive watch for me because first week back, it's going to take. He's been out for so long. he's building for finals, obviously, so I think we could see an improved effort from him this week, and it's timing. The other thing for me is I look at it, and I still always look at these things. Long will always want to perform against Hawthorn, and he gets another opportunity, like he did last time, to actually come out and have an improved week. So it'll be interesting to see how we go, Harro, but I hope you're right.
I did have a couple, actually.
Yeah.
I forgot a couple here, actually, Wally.
Yeah.
Sorry. I like Nash this week. I know he's not a big ball getter, but he just needs to get 19. He's done that 5 of his last 6 games, 8 out of his last 10. His last 4 against the Pies, he's gone 31, 18, 29, and 25. So I feel like he's got the right role against this team. And then also, the backs for Hawthorn should do all right. So your Impies, your Sicily's. One other little speculative
back, mate.
bet.
So
yeah. One other little sort of speculative one. It's the Hawks by 40 plus, paying $10. I wouldn't normally want to oppose the Pies this way, but you do see it so often, and we saw it with the Giants on Thursday night against the Dogs. You can get sides come out flat off these 5-day breaks. And so if they have one of those real flat ones, that 40 plus for Hawthorn at $10 would be in play. I don't mind taking a big line at a speculative sort of thing when you get that kind of set up. So I think that sort of cuts it off, mate.
Good stuff, Harro. All right, we'll move to Friday night. Geelong v Essendon. The Cats are $1.01. Essendon's $21. More importantly, the line is 69.5. 12-goal line, basically, Harro. Don't know what else I can say. Like, this is down at the Cattery. I mean, just it all lines up for him. We've spoken about Jeremy Cameron goals already, so we don't need to go into that.
Yeah.
How do we approach this, mate? I
mean, I think that they will beat the line. It's hard to play these really high lines, but I think they will get there. But it's not something I'm rushing to back, really. There's a few areas that I like here. The Bombers defenders, so Roberts and Redmond. Defenders have been going pretty well against the Cats recently, and they should, see plenty of the ball down that end. So you could have a look at those guys. As mentioned before, Andy McGrath into a full midfield role. Last 2 weeks, he's gone 22 and 26, and he's got a 21.5 line here. Outside of that, like the Dons have conceded, they're conceding, I think, the second or third most disposals in the comp over the season, and that's gone up recently as well. So you could be able to find like plenty of good bets on Cats players' disposals as well, but I haven't picked out any exact players. But I feel like there's enough there and for the punters to play with just what we're giving out there, mate.
Yeah. Jeremy Cameron's $1.08 to kick 3 goals. That I'm going to call it. That's the shortest price ever.
Yeah,
that would have to be the shortest price we've ever seen. That's extraordinary. $1.08, shorter than Winks. Black caviar price for 3 goals. That's amazing. All right, we'll get straight into the Saturday games now, Harro. I don't know. I don't think we hear much out of Friday night footy. Richmond St Kilda's an interesting one to start, though. Richmond's $3.70. St Kilda's $1.28. The line's 21.5. The Tigs they've had a great year. They've done everything they need to do. We've said that a couple of times. The Saints have been disappointing, but that being said, they've strung a couple of wins together. It's just against Melbourne and North Melbourne. The Melbourne one was about as good as wins get with Naz. What happens here? Can Richmond get another win that we're not expecting, or do we think St Kilda just rolls on? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I find these games at the end of the season like this difficult often. I feel like the line's, about right. Anything could probably happen in this, mate. I'm not too sure. So I'm probably looking to play outside of the match result. I do see often in these dead games at the end of the season that you can get higher scoring. So I'd keep that in mind with the 161.5. But just on Naz for a minute, mate, he's been a massive mover in the Brownlow market. So I had a mate message me yesterday saying that he got on Naz. I'm not sure how long ago he got on him, but got him at 500 to 1. And he's into $21 now. So this is he's making a huge run at the Brownlow. If he could have 3 more best ons, he could actually win it too, which is amazing. So, and how I've just enjoyed watching him. But look, what you're getting here with him now is a line of 33.5, which is, as high as you go. I think Jack McRae maybe the other year had a higher line.
Yeah, when he had
getting,
he had double figure games of 35. He had like a dozen 35 plus games. It was insane.
Yeah.
But
So
Naz,
I think I've seen but this is as high as it gets, really, 33.5 at the moment. But I wouldn't back under it either. I think, no, I couldn't back under it, especially against the Tigers, who give up loads of possessions. They give up the most possessions in the comp. So couldn't back under him either. So one guy I have picked out, which I really like here, is Sinclair. His line's 27.5. With Naz in the midfield, that really leaves him as the main man down there. I think he did all the kickouts on the weekend for them, and he's he's a very good player, so no problems with that. You look at what the Tigers have given up in recent weeks to this type of player, and it's Noble 30, Josh Dacos 30, Duggan 31, Roberts 31 just in the last month. So I feel like that's a really good area there. And look, if Hunter Clark has gone into that role as well, I'll definitely be keen to look into that. So I'm going to do a bit more research there. If he has taken a halfback role, well, I'd be keen to play him as well.
All right, very good, mate. All right, now on Saturday, we do have a game which potentially could be a good one in Brisbane v Sydney. Do you remember last year they played in that absolute cracker up at the Gabba where Sydney lost by a point, and it was at that point we all thought, hang on, if this is the best they've got, Sydney's probably going to win the flag here. Like, they were undermanned. Yeah. They still fought on that. They were great, and it obviously went the other way. Now, Brisbane $1.24, understandably. Sydney's $4.10. Their season is now officially over. 25.5 points is the line. Brisbane just seem to be doing what they need to be doing to get themselves into a top 4 position and have another crack. They can still get a home second chance final, which it was starting to look a little bit shaky. But I mean, they've won 5 of the last 6. So I kind of don't know what we're worried about. They lost to Adelaide and GWS before that. Since then, they've beaten Geelong, Port Adelaide, Carlton, the Dogs, and they lost to Gold Coast and beaten Collingwood. So, I mean, they're winning. It was just that awkward Gold Coast loss in there, which you can have a bad one. Everyone can put in a stinker. Can the Swans cause an upset here, Harro, or do you think Brisbane just march on to September?
They're a little bit dangerous, aren't they, the Swans?
Yeah.
But I don't expect them to win, but they are a little bit dangerous. It will be really interesting to see who fills that midfield void left by Neil. So, look for the teams and, any, track watcher reports out there on Twitter of the Brisbane training might give away a few clues.
Could Levi Ashcroft get a bigger role, do we think? Because he spent a bit of time forward and then he goes back.
I think they'll be looking more at a Berry.
Yep.
If it was me, I'd play Berry on Heaney. That would be what I would do if I was the coach. But who knows if they're going to do that or not. Otherwise, you've got the guy who plays out, Zach Bailey. Zach Bailey would be the other one who could go through there, I reckon.
Okay.
I really rate him. I think he's a gun.
Oh, he's a gun.
Or they might just play, they might do a bit of a rotation of 3 guys fill that one spot. They could do Rayner.
Yeah, Cam Rayner goes in.
Bailey. They've got plenty of options. But, yeah, so if anyone can work that one out, it'd probably be good. We did say earlier, probably going to be looking at a Jordan to McCluggage type situation, which probably does open the door for your Ashcroft and your Dunkleys as well. So those guys might be good with your McCluggage under 24.5. The other one I found here, mate, and he's in great form at the moment, is Reg Grundy. But I'm going to look to play the other way on Grundy here. His line's 22.5. And no ruckman in the last 2 years has got 23 possessions against the Lions, apart from Gawn, who in one game last year got 23. So although Grundy's in great form, he gets a very tough matchup here. And with his line elevated a little bit, I'm pretty happy to play him under his 22.5. The last area, which I don't mind here, is the over total points with the line at 169.5. A Brisbane day or twilight game, they generally go pretty high, and both these sides like to play attacking footy. So,
Yep.
Happy to play that too, mate.
That's a massive stat. No one one time has had one player's had 23 in sort of 2 years and it was gone, and it only just got over. I'll be diving into that. All right, your baggers on Saturday night take on the Gold Coast Suns. Carlton's 4.45 after a pretty good but very Carlton performance against Freo. The Suns rolling nicely are $1.21. Harrow, your line is 28.5.
Yeah. So I did mention earlier, I've got it in my notes here again, Cooper Lord got a full-time midfield role on the weekend. And look, he kept what's his face, Sarong, quiet, and he also got 22 himself. And I think his line's at 18. So you might want to, back up and play that again. Hewitt, with Lord playing that defensive role, Hewitt played more of a chase the ball type role, and he got 35, and you can get him at 25.5. And look, Gold Coast do concede plenty of disposals to mid, so I'd be happy to play that. We saw Jordan Clark get 30 against the Blues on the weekend, and I've been talking about this for a few weeks now, but backs against the Blues is a good area to play. And Noble, who we've been playing a lot recently, he's 26.5. I'd be pretty happy to play that. The other guy is Jeffrey, and with no Rioli, he's had 32 and 26. So those two boys off the half-back line should go pretty well. We did see the Freo key forwards have a bit of a fill-up on the weekend. They kicked 3 goals each. And so, look, I'd be happy to have a look at your Suns key forwards in King and
Walter.
Yeah, I'm not too sure who. Yeah, Walter's been playing in the 2, so he might come back and he could be worth a look. The other really obvious area here, which I would be happy to play, is the Suns' second half line. And it's going to be, look, what's the line in this game? It's
20 what they say, 26?
Yeah. So you might be able to get the
28.
Suns to win the second half by 15 points. I really like that. Like, we've seen the Blues fade in second halves all year. The Blues are just in the third and fourth quarters combined. They've won 12 and lost 26, where the Suns have won 22 and lost 15. So there's a big discrepancy in terms of the trends that these two teams play to, and I'm very keen on the Suns to have a big second half win and beat that second half line made of 15 points.
Okay, mate. I'm just going to get us a second half line. I'm just trying to find a second half line.
It'll be 14 or 15.
But that'd be absolutely magnificent if we can get that. All right.
Yeah.
We'll work it out. Can get a 7.5. Tell you what is interesting. The third and fourth quarter are both 7.5. The fourth quarter is you can get the Suns at $1.92 for a 7.5 point line. So anyway, look at those ones there, punters. All right, mate. Let's get on to the next game, which is also on the Saturday night, and that's Port Adelaide versus Freo. Look, Port's got 3 games left with Kenny. Boak's retired now as well. There is, you think, one emotional surge, and it's either this game or it's, of course, that Gold Coast game in the last round. I think they play you guys in the middle, but they've got 2 home games left. They're $4.60. Freo are $1.20. The line as well in this one is 28.5 points. Freo, they've been a bit shaky, Harrow.
Yeah, as with all these games, I could only consider the team with all the incentive, which is Freo here. But they have been a little bit disappointing, haven't they? Just beating the Blues by 27 points after trailing all day at home. That's a bit of a concern for me, and also only beating West Coast by 50 points or 49. Don't let me forget that. Was also a bit disappointing. So, look, I think that they'll win. I'm not so keen on the line, but I could only consider Freo at the line. Look for the team. See if Wagner comes back. If he does, he's probably going to come back and tag Butters. We saw Geelong had great success with that on the weekend.
Yep.
And he does that sort of similar role. Luke Jackson, I love, mate. He got a full midfield role on the weekend. He had 27, 8 clearances. His line's 19.5 here. And without Young in the team, I feel like they're going to try and keep Jackson around the ball a fair bit. Then you can find a key forward for Freo against Port is always a really nice area. So whether you want to pick, they've got 3 of them up there. Voss is probably the one in the best form. Whether you want to have a go at him for some goals, they're kind of the areas that I'm looking to play in this one.
Yep, I'd be taking Voss or Tracy over Amos. I know Amos was good on the weekend, but I just think week to week you're seeing, even though Voss and Tracy still managed to kick a few goals each, even though everyone was talking about Amos's game. So I think at the moment their ceiling is a bit higher. All right, mate. We'll move on to Sunday's games now. And the first game I got is GWS versus North Melbourne. Giants are $1.04, North are $11. I mean, the line's 49.5. There could be multiple 100-point wins this week. I'm not saying this will necessarily be one. I don't know what it is with North Melbourne, Harro. Like, they probably should have beaten St Kilda, but they don't win games of footy. They have not improved like they should have. They're getting absolutely spanked. They got annihilated by Geelong, belted around by Sydney and Melbourne, and the margins should have been worse. Absolutely dominated by us, by the Western Bulldogs. They snuck home against you guys and nearly got overrun. Before that, they were competitive and lost to Freo. There was a decent win against West Coast in there. But since that, basically since round 15 when they beat you, and they were playing against like West Coast and Carlton and these sort of teams, they've been diabolical. GWS need to win this. Percentages are massive plus. I could see this being really, really messy.
Yeah, it could, mate. It well could. They do get Sherry back, who's obviously a massive key to how they play. But having said that, again, another one of these games with where the incentives are all on one side, and I could only consider the Giants at the line, but it is a high line. So if there's some better areas out there, I'll try and find them. I thought last week the Giants against the Dogs. Look, I'm happy to give them a pass on that. I'm pretty sure it was that whole 5-day break after a huge comeback that left them a bit flat coming into that Dogs game. So maybe I'll give them a little bit of a pass on that one and expect them to really rebound hard here. So good luck to North with the Giants having everything to play for. Couple of areas that I do like around the disposals is McKercher under 30 disposals, mate. That role that he's playing, the Giants are very restrictive to. The last guy to get 30 against them in that role was Christian Salem back in round 1. So
Okay.
I feel like that's it. I know McKercher gets heaps of the ball and all that, but just the wrong sort of matchup, and I feel like he'll go under. I'm willing to give Callahan another go. I feel like if he was obviously a bit flat along with the rest of the team. That's the only reason. And he's still got 23. So
he got 24, Harro.
Yeah, okay.
He got 24 disposals.
So as long as he doesn't keep getting robbed, no
more handballing over your head, Finn. He should hold the ball out to the camera and then handball it, just so they don't miss it.
Exactly. So he 27.5. He'd been clearing that really comfortably before he got the tag and then last week. So and we just saw Naz have 36 against North. So they're not really tagging the gun mids. The other area, and this one, and it's a little bit hard to back up based on what he's been doing lately, but Toby Green, this is the sort of matchup that could really suit him, I think.
No Hogan either, so he knows he's got to step up.
Yeah. Just missed a big game with obviously a suspension, being the skipper. And I don't feel like North have a great matchup for him. So Toby Green goals, I feel like even though he hasn't been kicking a lot this year, it's a little bit of a speculative one, but I could see him having a total fill-up, mate.
What are they going to do, put Caleb Daniel on him?
that would be the right matchup for our
bets. That'd be funny. that would actually be very, very funny. All right, so I love that. Toby Green will be all over him. All right, Melbourne play the Western Bulldogs on Sunday afternoon. Melbourne are $3.90. The Doggies, a game with everything to play for, $1.26. They couldn't have been more impressive last weekend. The Dogs, Sam Darcy, Aaron Norton are turning into a really scary duo. And then Riley West adds this annoying, buzzing around, really frustrating small forward influence, which is exactly what you want. I say that in a fully respectful way. And there is this annoyance. It's like, shit, if they don't get you in there, they're kind of getting you on the ground, or they're midfielders, whether it's Richards, whether it's Bont, are kicking goals. So, I mean, this spells disaster for Melbourne, you would think. I don't see a world in which they get close. Question is, the line's 24.5. I'm leaning Dogs here. How are you seeing it, Harro?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really horrible week to get the D's, isn't it? When you have your coach sacked and then you get them the following week, because you do see it often can turn their sort of fortunes around, and that sort of response.
Harro, can I just say,
happens.
though, we're talking about a club that historically has not won those games and got up for people. I won't go into the details, but it's pretty easy to go back through. They haven't historically won these sort of games, Melbourne.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's a fair point, Wally. So yeah, but based on sort of regular, like the D's, if they play their best footy, they could probably give the Dogs a scare. So look, they just beat West Coast by 80 odd. We saw them run Collingwood to a point at the MCG. Only 4 or 5 weeks ago. Their best footy could give them a scare. So. I look, we'll be on the Dogs anyway in our train, so I'm probably going to leave them alone at the line.
Okay.
There are some good areas here, though, outside of that. Look, Bailey Dale, he's been getting some tough matchups and getting sort of clamped a little bit, and he gets a really good run at it here. So the D's give up plenty of disposals to that type of player. We saw Marich last week, 29, Sinclair, 32, Daniel, 28, Noble, 29, and you can get Dale, who is exactly that multiplier, at 24.5. So, look, he could even be a good one to have for like 29, 34, that sort of stuff.
Up, yep.
Yeah, because he can go big, as we've seen a few times this season. Down the other end, you get Salem and Bowie, who we just saw, and we picked it out last week with the GWS backs to go high against the Dogs, and the Dogs concede plenty to those types of players.
Mm-hmm.
So you could find a couple down there with Salem and Bowie who they both know how to find plenty of it. So that's kind of where I'll be focusing most of my attention. One other area, though, is the over total points, and I'm very keen on this, Wally. Couple of the Dogs are involved in the highest scoring games in the comp, and look, I don't think defense is really going to be on the agenda with an interim coach coming in. They're just going to be looking to focus on themselves and play the best footy they can. And the D's actually have been involved in quite a few high-scoring games themselves. So, really like the over 175.5, mate.
Is that a ladder? Are we going to ladder that? Because you sound really confident
good potential.
in it.
Yeah, good potential for a ladder. Definitely, mate.
Great. All right. Last game of the round, West Coast take on Adelaide. Adelaide just look so good at the moment, as annoying as that is. West Coast, $15. Adelaide, $1.02. The line is 59.5. Oof. It just life doesn't get any easier for the Eagles, Harro.
Yeah, I think the Crows will carry on with their current form. I know they're a long way ahead on percentage, but they just don't appear to me to be the type of team that would mess around at all. So, if they did, maybe it would be the last quarter they might hold up a little bit, because they do have a 6-day break into Collingwood. And that could be basically, for a home final that. So they will look to put the game to bed early. And look, it could be a huge margin as well. We just saw the D's obviously beat West Coast by 84 points, and the Crows have got a fair bit on the D's. So where do we want to play? Look, Dan Curtin, his disposals and goals could be worth looking at. We just saw Langford off a wing kick 3 goals against West Coast. So and his disposals as well, I think he's at 18 or 19.5. Yep. He's going so well at the moment in this role. Since they moved him out of the forward line up onto a wing, and he's even getting a bit of inside mid time. He's dominating, and so
he's a star, Harro. I would love to have a player like that.
He's so good. How's the size of him and the way he moves?
Oh, mate, he's just absolutely elite.
How many contested marks last week?
As many as you want, mate. He is so good. Honestly, their team, when you start to look at what they're building there, they're I reckon if they had a true A-grade key defender, they would be like well clear of the pack. They've put such a good team together. They would be like,
They're
anyway,
good. So,
mate, they're very, and they're going to be so hard to beat at home.
Yeah. So, look, I've really enjoyed watching them too. I think they're great to watch. So, awesome. But outside of that, look, Rankin, we liked him for goals last week, and we noticed he's not getting any midfield time. So he's really, since Rochelle went out of the team, so he's up there a lot. I don't see anything changing there. He's $1.71 to kick 2. $3 to kick 3 against West Coast when they're probably going to kick a cricket score. Really interested there. And then it's like whether you can find, and we played this the other week against the Dogs, whether it's a Thilthorpe or whether it's one of the other big boys down there, every chance of a bag to someone down there. So have a look around that too. And probably a bit closer to the game, we'll have a look at some disposal bets. But we know in this, these West Coast games, West Coast do keep defenders pretty low, but everybody else, like your half forwards and stuff, and plus your midfielders, all go pretty well. So there'll be some disposal bets based around that sort of thing, maybe closer to the game.
Perfect, Harro. All right, mate, before we wrap up, of course, we'll need your best bet for the round.
Yeah, before we do, Wally, I forgot to mention last week, but we do have this train which we've ran the last 2 weeks, which is still going. And just so people understand, we're taking teams that are trying to qualify for finals versus teams that are dead. I think we've hit about eight legs in a row now so far, and this week is a big week for the train. So we get the Cats, the Lions, the Suns, the Dockers, the Giants, the Bulldogs, and the Crows, all to win their games. It's $2.43. So we're rolling into that. This is probably the biggest week that we're going to have for this train. If we get through this week, I'm very confident that this is going to run through to the end of the season and end up being a complete fill-up for our punters. So just wanted to put that back on the agenda because I forgot to mention it last week. A few people hit me up saying, hey, you forgot to mention the train. So I made sure I mentioned it here. But the best bet, mate, there's a few that I like the Gold Coast second half bet. I really like that. I like the over total points in the Bulldogs Melbourne, really like that. But I like to have the best bet often in the big games, and there's really not a bigger game this round than Thursday night. And so I'm going to put the Hawks at the +7.5 up as the best bet this week, mate. I just want to put Wally under a little bit extra pressure too.
That's horrible. That is just, mate? All right, wow. All right, there you go. Hawthorn +7.5. Oh, shit. All right. It's not stressful enough. All right, Harro, you've been great as always, mate. Thank you for all of that. Keep an eye on our socials, footyfgpod, of course, on X. That's where we will drop any further information, any of those bets for the later games, anything we do and don't like, any changes with late outs and things like that. Harro, have a great weekend, mate. Only 2 rounds to go before finals after this one. Yep.
With you saying that, mate, I've noticed people need to subscribe to our YouTube as well, I've been told. So we're getting I don't know how many people watch, but not many people subscribing. So make sure you subscribe because it really helps us in terms of growing the show. So if everyone could do us a favour and do that, that would be much appreciated. Very good shout. All right, punters, we'll see you next week.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.